Thanks for joining us. We have Ryan Walsh here tonight from Hard Money Bankers, and a little bit about his background. He's been helping all types of investors fund their deals. He spent the last 9 years helping people fund over thousands of deals in the New Jersey and the North Carolina areas. But I know we've got some people on here from Ohio. But I think his tips he's going to go over to help separate us from successful investors from everyone else will be beneficial to everyone, no matter where you are. So we will let him go ahead and get started.
Awesome. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Gabby. Appreciate you guys as always. I'm excited here to talk to this group. This would be the first woman in real estate presentation I've had to do. And yeah, it's an honor. So thank you for having me. And I'm happy to share this. And as I was talking with Kayla and Gabby earlier, this isn't really specific for women because money is the same for everybody, right? Now, I work with many successful women. I work with many successful males, and it's all the same in terms of the habits they do. Okay. So, I'm excited to share this all with you. And I can just tell you that women kick as much butt as men in this. There's no difference in that regard. So happy to share with my information with all of you. And as I said, reach on out anytime during this presentation if you have any questions. All right. So I'll dive in here. So just a little bit about me and my company, right? I think it's really important to know who you're listening to. I think in real estate, there's a lot of people who come up and you have no idea if they're qualified to be telling you what the heck they're even talking about. And I give this background not as a way to brag or anything like that, but just to know that this does come from a verified source, that this is through experience, and my mentors, my partners have been doing it longer than I have. So it's really credible information. You'll find us pretty much all over the internet sharing information. Many private money lenders are part of a group we do that we head because we're kind of, as far as we know, the largest private money lender in the nation. So just to tell you more about myself, I put there my job role up top. I mean, if you've ever done a loan, well, let me start with this. Is anybody here experienced? Has anybody done at least one flip? I kind of want to know so I can tailor my conversation to everybody here. Is anybody here experienced in the industry, or is this more, okay, I see some nods, I see Courtney nodding. Chelsea, I see your background's real estate transaction coordinator, so I'm sure you've done things. And it's okay. It doesn't matter if you're very experienced, not experienced, it doesn't matter. This will kind of cover the gambit. But the reason I put my up top here, can you guys see my mouse there? Is it moving? You able to see the mouse? Yeah. Up here is because when you were working with lenders, most of them only do one of these parts, right? But when you have your own, I apologize, can you guys hear the kids crying or no? Okay, good. The wife's on her way home, so I'm kind of on dad duty as we're doing this right now, but I'll just keep going here. All right. So I put partner, loan officer, processor, underwriter, renovation expert, because I do draw releases, foreclosure. When deal goes south, I got to handle it, and then marketer. I handle all those responsibilities, which means I see a deal end to end, from the very start to the very finish. I see the entire process. And that's just important for you to know that this information is coming from somebody who has done over 1,000 deals of my own, and then just sees the full picture, right? So it's not theory, it's actual experience knowledge that it's coming from. I've been doing this for 10 years, lending specifically. I've actually been wholesaling for about 20 years. I'm a little bit older than I look. I'll be 40 in March. But it's 10 years of experience lending and then 20 years in the industry. So I only lend now. I don't buy or anything like that anymore. I've just, all those lines in there are a full-time job. Reviewed 1,000 deals, as I said, and worked with first-time investors all the way through the seasoned investors, doing simple fix and flips to complex commercial deals. So it's really any type of project. I've probably seen it, other than a gas station. I have not done that yet. So if anybody wants to be the first, let me know, but we don't really do gas stations. They're very high risk. Okay, so that's about me. And then Hard Money Bankers, this is just kind of my 2 second window for you guys. We lend our own capital since 2007. My partners, the ones who founded it, they brought me in to run New Jersey. I do North Carolina and New Jersey now, but they started in Maryland. So they're the ones who taught me. They've total, the company has done 4,000 loans, over 4,000 now. And that's important. It's important to know that you're talking to somebody who's local versus just somebody who you pick up the phone, you're talking to California. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You're talking to somebody from California, but dealing with somebody who's in your area, there's power to that. They can help you get deals, uh, understand your market a bit more. It's more than just somebody saying, "Hey, I'll send out an appraiser and we'll see how it goes." A private local lender, whether you're here, I'm not in Ohio, so I apologize, Ohio people, but I highly recommend finding a private lender that is local so they can be a part of your team. Always keep the other capital around, such as Kiavi or just any institutional lender. They're great, but find a private lender who you can work with as well. Highly recommend that. And just a little bit about us. We're known for our no appraisals closings. So that's because I do the underwriting myself. I don't need an appraiser to go out there and tell me how much something's worth. It's my own money. I don't want to put my own money on somebody's opinion of a property. I want to base it on my opinion. And that holds true to real estate investors too. I don't want you to go off of your realtor's numbers. Use them as a second opinion, but your opinion is first. That's probably part of the topics that we're going to talk about, but just something to keep in mind. All right. And then we focus on solutions, not loan approvals. For example, I just did a loan with somebody who has 430 credit. You have to try to have 430 credit. But the solution for them worked. And we got them out of this really hairy deal. And they're now a permanent client of ours because they were fantastic to work with. So we're not just looking at just the credit score or just your liquidity, right? We look at you as a person, the project, and we analyze the whole thing. So that's another advantage to using a private lender is it's a little bit more, we have flexibility. We can do things like that. So definitely highly recommend finding one wherever you are. Okay. So that's about us. The rest is going to be pretty much for you guys here. So the number one habit I see is they take action before they feel ready. Now, what I mean by that, and many of you have probably heard this phrase, but if you haven't, there's a chance you're in it right now. Analysis paralysis, right? Do not get stuck here. And I see this with so many newcomers in real estate, especially at real estate events such as these, right? I mean, there's people that have been going for years and they have never done a deal. And I'm just like, you got to do something, right? And the thing is, the people who are successful at this, they didn't wait until they felt 100% secure on something. Okay. There was some part of them that was uncomfortable going forward. And even after they've done dozens or hundreds of deals, there's always that level of uncomfortableness to the deal because there's just, you don't know what you don't know. But the better you get at it, the more that pressure, that feeling isn't as big, right? But that's probably the number one thing on people I see who do deal after deal after deal and have made this a business rather than just a one-off hobby that they do maybe one every couple of years. Not that there's anything wrong with that. By all means, I still consider you successful if that's what you do. But make sure you at least get one done if you're going to put all this time and effort into learning all this. And then you decide if you want to make this your full-time job or career and go from there. But you don't have to wait for that perfect feeling. They'll gather enough information to make an informed decision, and we'll go over what information is important there. But you don't need to know everything before you go in on the project. They will certainly ask questions. They will ask dumb questions. And I say that because people say there's no dumb question. There are certainly dumb questions. I think that's a BS thing to say, but you need to ask it. It's okay to ask a dumb question. You can't be blamed for not knowing what you don't know. Okay. And just ask it. It's okay. Right. It's okay that, you ask a question such as like, what's a dumb question? A dumb question is, what's a contractor? Okay. That's a dumb question because if you're in this business and you don't know what a contractor is, to me, that's a dumb question. But if you didn't ask that and I can't tell you that, you're never going to be able to move forward. Right. So you have to be able to ask all sorts of questions, whether it's a very uh, complicated question in terms of what's your loan process, what happens if I go over payment or anything like that, all the way down to what's a contractor, right? Uh, the range of questions they will ask him. And I've had people who are very experienced ask those questions, or I'm like, how did you not know that? Sometimes if I have a good relationship, I'll just be like, how have you done so many deals and you didn't know the answer to that question, right? It's almost impressive that they're able to do what they do. But never be afraid to ask questions. Ask questions. Now they will lean on their experienced agents, lenders, contractors, and mentors. They will lean on them. And this is what I was saying before, where don't rely on them to give you the information, such as if your realtor says this is worth 300,000 when you're done with the project. Make sure you understand how they got there. Make sure you agree with them. And in fact, I would come up with your own numbers first and then ask them and see if you're in line, right? So you rely on these experts to guide you, but they are the ones making the decision. Make sure you are the captain of your ship, right? And it doesn't matter if it's your first flip or your 100th, you need to be the captain of your ship because you're the one at risk here, right? You definitely don't want to be coming back saying, hey, I lost money on this deal because my realtor said, like, your realtor doesn't lose money if they're wrong. You lose money if they're wrong. So make sure that you have people that you trust, and we'll go into that a little bit, but you can lean on them and make sure it confirms your analysis that you've come to on certain projects. And they prepare instead of procrastinate. And this is the analysis paralysis, right? You analyze the numbers and you move on, whether it's that means you go for it or you pass. Okay. You don't keep waiting and say, oh, I'm going to wait for one more thing. I'm going to wait for one more thing because by the time that happens, the deal's gone. Or it's just 3 months later, the numbers need to be reworked and it doesn't make sense. So you have to be able to prepare correctly. And some of that does come with experience. I will admit it comes with experience. Okay. Um, but you can you can lean on your experienced agents, lenders, and things like that if you're still getting into the game, or a partner if you can get an experienced partner. But don't procrastinate too long. So they will make moves even before they're at that 100%. I feel 100% they make moves before they get there. I'd probably say call it like 90% confidence in moving forward. And then a big thing they do is they make mistakes a part of the process. I don't know. Maybe of these thousands that I've done, or thousand plus, it just hit over 1,000. Maybe 10 have gone without that actually went through on the plan that they said, right? So like whatever you put in your renovation budget, it's going to change. It's going to change every time. And you just realize that it's part of the process. It's part of the business. They don't beat themselves up. They just say, yep, that's part of it. And they account for that in different ways, whether it's overestimating the renovation budget, or you just get used to it and you just say, yeah, my ballpark numbers, which is kind of crazy to say when you're thinking of like $1 million project. You're like, yeah, ballpark, it might be off 40, 50,000. Like, yeah, that's kind of how it goes. But you're just prepared for it and it's a part of the process. So it doesn't matter if it's a million or 100,000, that ballpark number is still just close enough, if you will. So I'd say that's probably the number one habit I see with people who make a full career out of real estate. Does anybody have any questions on that habit in particular? Okay, just keep going here. Okay, they know their numbers. As a lender, this is probably, I'm biased, the most important part for what I care about. It's not an endless barrage of numbers that you need to know. Okay, it's a finite set number that you just get used to. You just realize that every project, this is all I need to know, and it's going to work out. Could there be nuances in there? Sure, yes, but not enough to make or break a project for the most part. So, for example, your investor that comes to me and they say, I have a project, if they can't rattle this off their head, I'm actually a little bit concerned, right? The experienced investors know these are the numbers that I need. These are important numbers to the success of my project. Purchase price, rehab cost, ARV. So if anybody ever asks me, What do you need to underwrite a deal? Or how do you close so quickly? How do you guys close in a day? I'm like, well, just send me the address. I need to know where the property is. Send me your purchase price and send me your. Oh, is that sound coming through? I apologize. Did you guys hear that? Okay, good. It's a loud ring in my ear. Is it my phone system? Sorry. So these are the numbers: purchase price, rehab, and your ARV. You know those three numbers, you're going to do fine. And the more accurate you are on those numbers, the better, right? So that tells me everything I need to know. It tells me everything I need to know about you as an investor. It tells me everything I need to know about the project itself. Because if your purchase price is what I would consider off, meaning you are buying way too high, I know one of two things. One, you're inexperienced, or two, you're willing to take higher risk than I'm comfortable with. So that means if a property is worth $100,000 today, and when you're done fixing up the ARV, let's just say it's 200,000, but I see you buying it for 150,000, that's a big red flag to me. And I don't see repeat clients buying at wrong numbers. They buy at right numbers. And right numbers basically just means they know how much they want to profit on the deal. And everybody's going to have a different threshold there. Typically, the more experienced ones, they're going to be saying, I need to be making at least $50,000 to $100,000 on a product, or I'm not even looking at it. Somebody else might say, I need to be making $5,000 to $10,000 and I'll be happy, right? Typically, that $5,000 to $10,000, I don't see them again because they just didn't realize how much work that's going to be just for $5,000 to $10,000. But once you find your magic number that works for you, then you make the purchase price work for you. You almost don't even care how much the property is listed for. You just say, I know this is going to be worth 200 when I'm done. If I want to make $10,000 or if I want to make $50,000, here's what I'm offering them. Take it or leave it. Has nothing to do with how much they're listing it for. If you get caught up in a bid war, that's where you could really end up losing money, and then you're out of the game. And that's for me as a lender. I'm not in the business of just doing a one-off deal with somebody. I want repeat clients. So that's why we share this information, right? We want people who are going to be in the industry for a long time, and you really just want to make sure your purchase price and your after repair values work. And the middle ground there is your rehab budget. If some people can do the work themselves, maybe they can do the renovations, so they can get instead of it being a $50,000 renovation, they can do it for maybe 40,000 because they're doing the work themselves. That's one way around it. But for the most part, I like to see numbers overestimated in the sense of, yeah, I don't know what I don't know. So I'm going to guess 60,000. If I could do it for 40,000, awesome. Probably 50,000, but I'm going to guess 60,000. And then they work their numbers backwards from there. So that's actually kind of the last bullet point there. You see worst case scenario. They're always planning for worst case scenario. Always, always. And then if it still works, you got the green light. That's what it is. So you kind of work with a high renovation budget, a low after repair value. That's how you find your purchase price. And because then you work in how much you, okay, so it'd be high renovation budget, low after repair value, meaning underestimate it, and then add in how much you want to make as the investor. That's your purchase price. That's your purchase price. That's how you prepare for worst case scenario.
Someone
And
does have a question actually in the chat, and it says, "What is an example of an exit strategy?" I don't think you covered that
yeah,
yet.
didn't hit that one yet, and we're going to come back to that one. That's going to be later because that one's so important that it gets its own slide. So yeah, we will we'll come back to that one. Very good question. Okay, and what they don't do on this is they don't buy based on HGTV, and what I mean is you might as well turn HGTV off if you think that is what flipping is going to be like. I'm sorry, that's not what a career in flipping looks like. Those people who are successful on HGTV typically make money just from that success. It's marketing for HGTV. They also have all their teams lined up already. You even have people that are willing to take pay cuts to just be on that show. For example, a contractor, yeah, normal person is going to cost $10,000. I'll do it for free because I'm going to be on HGTV. So there's just so much on HGTV that is not close to reality. And I just want to call that out. So don't, if you're in this, maybe this got you excited about real estate, and that's perfectly okay. But it's going to take you time and years in order to get the machine rolling like you see on HGTV. So just keep that in mind. They also don't buy based on emotions. Now, I don't mean all emotions. I think emotions are a very important piece to life, if you will, let alone business. But there's certain emotions that they will steer clear of. So one is excitement of potential. And I could tell this when I'm talking to somebody where the experienced people, they're not excited about the project. They are, but they're not like, oh, I could get 500,000 for this property. I really want it. That's a trap. Okay. They're looking at the low end ARV and they're saying to me, yeah, yeah, even if this sells at 300 instead of 500, I'm still good here. And then they get excited after they sell because they come back to me and they're like, sold it for 525. That's when we give the high five. But they don't buy it based off of the potential going in. They also don't do it based off of nervousness. So if there's pressure to buy, if there's an unsureness, it's actually kind of a balance of what I was talking about earlier, where they don't have 100%. They're not 100% ready to go. There's always that uncomfortable feeling of not knowing what you don't know about a project. It's not there on every single one, but they're not nervous, right? They're expecting the unexpected. If they're nervous, they need to do more diligence. Okay. So that's just an emotion to be aware of. If you're nervous, maybe you do need to get more information. So you're kind of learning that feeling of, okay, I'm uncomfortable because I don't know everything, but I'm still going to do it versus I'm nervous, right? That's when things could fall apart. Um, Along with that kind of goes restlessness. And this is going to be if you're antsy, I just got to do a deal. And this is almost counter to what I was saying before. It's like if you've been at these RIAs for 3 years to 4 years and you still haven't done a deal, you need to do a deal. But don't just do a deal to do a deal. Okay. That is also a recipe for disaster. Okay. So don't do it because you're antsy. Do it because everything lines up. You just want to be focusing on the other parts of what we're talking about tonight first to get into a better feeling of, this isn't antsy. This is excitement of going into my first deal. That's different. So make sure you're not doing something out of restlessness or being antsy. And one of the biggest killers I see is sentimental value. And this could be a property inherited. This could be pride in your own renovation work. Okay. I mean, uh, I can tell you a story of an investor of mine. I actually did a podcast with her, how she was saying how it was her first flip and she wanted to crush it, right? She wanted to do a really good job. She wanted to show everyone what a great renovator she is. She has the eye, she has the art, right? Uh, and she certainly does. She certainly has that skill set. And she went $60,000 over budget, but she cared so much about this, and she lost that 60,000 because she couldn't sell the property at the amount she thought she was going to. Now, it was a podcast. That was her first flip. She lost 60,000. She bounced back, made $150,000 on her next flip. Both those stories are extremes, and she will be the first to admit it. She's like, I haven't hit those extremes since because she's learned both in both those manners. But just be careful of sentimental value. Don't get attached to the property. Don't get attached to your work. Just realize this is a job, a career. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. I'm not saying don't enjoy it, but don't start making decisions based on sentimental value, whether it's based on the work itself or the property itself. And then that it feels like a good deal. Probably one of the last things I want to hear as a lender. Now, believe me, I fully support law of attraction, big believer in it. I fully believe in following your feelings and when something feels good. But if you can't back it up to another person, such as a lender, as to why is this feels good, I mean, listen, you can do it. Follow your heart's desire, but I'm not giving you a dollar of mine, right? So, just be careful of the it feels good because unless you're a master of the law of attraction and what that feeling is, and if you are, kudos. If you're still learning it, just don't risk $50,000 or $100,000 on that until you have a better sense of what that actually looks like. We don't need to go too deep into that, but just be careful of it feels good because that honestly could kind of coincide with the excitement of potential. right? That a lot of times that's a little bit of the trap there. So just make sure that it feels good. It's not because you're thinking of I can make $1 million here, right? It's like, yeah, you could, but that shouldn't be why you go do the deal. You got to think of worst case first. And if it still makes sense, then go do it. And just a little line there to keep in mind is as a lender, I never expect perfection, but I do expect a plan. And Stephanie, I see you're the one that asked that exit strategy question. That's going to tie into that exit strategy question as well. Uh, any questions on that, knowing your numbers? Cool. Okay. Also a big one. I mean, all these are big in my opinion, but the best investors surround themselves with their network before they need them. It's when you go for these people after the situation occurs is when you find yourself probably losing money, probably making bad decisions, uh, and possibly never wanting to do real estate again. Right. Again, I want to keep you in the game. I want you coming back to real estate. So make networks with all the people that you see here. Another good one, I'm going to plug Chelsea here because she's a real estate transaction coordinator. Uh, you know, I know what she does, um, and it's so much more. She kind of has a hard sale, to be honest, because it's like you almost can't sell it to somebody who's never done it before. um, but there's just a lot, so it's really good to have somebody like Chelsea on your team. And I've never met Chelsea; I just know what a transaction coordinator does, and it's a lot. Um, so you want to line all these people up before you need them. And it can be as simple as giving them a phone call and saying, hey, I'm a new investor. Or, hey, I'm an experienced investor just looking to expand my team. You can't have enough of these, right? You just have literally a spreadsheet. Um, if you, I mean, if you want to go on the higher level, get a database, a content management or a CRM where all of your contacts are managed in there for you. That's what you ultimately want to do. All of the successful investors have these networks ready to go at their fingertips. It took them time to build it, but you can start building it right now. In fact, I put this in here because everybody who's in this chat should have each other's contact information. So if you don't have your database, if you haven't started it, and this can be as simple as creating a Word doc, I don't care. This is the most important part of real estate because this is not a 9 to 5 job where you have your colleagues sitting next to you every day. You have to build your colleagues. We're all coworkers. Everybody here is a coworker. We are each other's network. And some of you may be brand new, and that's okay because you're going to find a deal and you're going to bring it to an experienced investor because you're going to find out it's really hard to get funding sometimes on certain properties here unless you have an experienced cosigner. And then that experienced cosigner is going to be more than happy to do this project with you. And then your attorney is going to be ready to go. Your lender, such as myself, when I see you have your team lined up, it makes me have so much confidence in you. And that, as a private lender, changes the numbers I'm giving you. Because instead of saying, hey, I'm going to give you $60,000 for this project, I'm going to say, you got your stuff together. I'm going to give you 65,000. I'm going to give you 70,000 for this project just because you are organized and professional, right? Even though you've never done a real estate transaction, I can tell you're organized. You have your team. Let's do it, right? So what I'm telling everyone here to do or suggesting is put your contact info in this chat, name, email, phone number, and then I would literally copy and paste everybody's information in there, put it into a spreadsheet, boom, you just started your database. Okay. There's going to be a lot of people selling their services, such as me right now, selling, I'm a lender, right? But now you know who to call when you need it. You just don't know when you're going to need it. Realtor, you can't, I said, you can't have enough. You can't have enough of everything on this list here. The larger your arsenal, the more deals come your way, the better your life is, because when things go sideways, you just have a list of people you can contact. You don't want to catch yourself in a space later saying, "Oh man, I wish I saved those contacts from this meeting." Believe me, if anybody's been in this business long enough, you've been there where you forget somebody's name, contact that you spoke with about a certain situation. And it's all about just capturing it. And you just got to start. You don't need a high level CRM to do all this, but you can create a notepad document for now. I wouldn't recommend writing it on paper, because at least the notepad you'll have, you just take it around wherever you want, or I mean, computer notepad. But that's my suggestion. So I would take all these. I mean, I see new investors, I see wholesaler. Everyone here is your friend. Everyone here, even if they're in different states, uh, I'm telling you, you just don't know when a year from now, 2 years from now, somebody moved from Ohio to North Carolina, or they say, "Hey, I bumped across somebody who said uh, they got a deal in North Carolina. You have any interest in it?" And I'm telling you, the network of the people who are successful is endless. They know everybody in the industry. They just do. And it didn't start like that. So whether you have it now or you're building it now, you got to start. So that's probably the biggest takeaway about building relationships is just build it, call people, say hello, and we'll be in touch with you. And that's it. Yeah. Any questions on that? Cool, cool. Okay. Stephanie, this is going to your question. Oh, I think I see it. Is that a question? It's from Kadia? Am I seeing that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Katia, close.
Kadia.
Yeah. I'm sorry for the background noise. I'm outside. I guess my question to you is, you're talking about networking. Um, would you say that there are differences in success factors for people who do it alone versus people who partner up,
Good question.
or success factors and success rate?
I can't say I've thought about success rate. It depends on the partner, right? We've had partners that are just a number partner, right? Where it's like they somehow convinced somebody to do a deal, and on paper, it looked like they were partners. And I'm just thinking of a deal that we had to foreclose on. It went sideways. Um, and when I called the other partner, they said, honestly, I thought I was just doing a friend a solid here. I've never even owned a house, and now I have a foreclosure on my name, and it was awful. It's not a position I ever want to be in, but it was uh, just a partner that really wasn't involved. So you can kind of have a partner like that, or you can have a partner that's accountable and in the project with you. And I would say that success rate, I don't want to give you bad information. I can only say off the top of my head, yeah, I think you are more successful when you have accountable partners in there. I'm kind of like thinking of my like defaults right now. Um, because sometimes they default partners, but I would say most of them are individuals. Just again thinking off the top of my head. So that's a great question. I don't have the exact answer, and I kind of want to go find it out. I actually kind of want to look through my files right now. I think the answer is yes. If you have a partner, statistically, you might be more likely to succeed as long as they're an invested partner and not just a off the side partner, right? Uh, and I always encourage, especially new investors, get a freaking partner. Get one. Um, Even if they're not doing it, you're gonna be like, I'm doing all the work. I'm telling you that experienced investor is going to save you headache and money. Um, and then I think probably the best ones I've seen that grow into teams is when an experienced investor goes in on a project and there's a team of new people, like two or three new people, and they kind of all eventually branch out into their own at some point. Uh, but just their projects just go really well. So the accountability factor, I think, is a lot there. If you are new, definitely recommend partners. Um, and then if you're experienced, kind of up to you, I guess. You might know how it goes, but generally speaking, new experienced investors are more than happy to partner up with new investors if they're bringing them a deal. It's the biggest thing you can do is bring somebody a deal. So great question. I want to get back to you on the exact answer there, like a percentage. If partner deals succeed, call it 90% more, that kind of thing. But I think so. I think partner deals do succeed more. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Because I was just thinking of the old adage, and I'm gonna botch it because I don't remember exactly how it goes. But the idea is basically if you want to go fast, if you want to go slow, go alone, and if you want to go fast, go with somebody. I'm sure that's not how it goes, but I think that's
Yeah.
kind
No,
of the gist of it.
exactly. Yeah, I know what you're talking about there. And yeah. I mean, there's nuances in there for sure because if you could do 10 deals a year with a partner versus 5 deals a year with just yourself, what's the difference kind of thing? Like you do have to make sure the maths a little bit on that, at least in real estate, just because you do need an abundance of deals to kind of go after that. But in terms of success of the project itself, I would say you're more likely to succeed with a partner. I think that is the case. And then from there, it's just up to you because I have people sometimes they do it with a partner, sometimes they don't. It just kind of depends on the project, but you know, it just varies there. All right.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So this is the exit strategy question that Stephanie was asking. This is the most important part for a lender. you know, if I could ask this first, I probably would, but it's probably better to talk about the project because I can tell so much when somebody says, I don't know. I don't know what my exit strategy is. Even worse is I haven't thought about that. Okay, not good. Uh, the successful investors, they tell me I don't have to ask because they know this. It's not just that it's important to me as a lender, but it's important to them. They're trying to think, how am I getting paid? Right. So they realize this is how everybody makes money, including the lender, but everybody makes money based on the exit. Right. So you want to know your strategies. And they don't only have one exit generally. Sometimes they do. Uh, but if it's a solid exit, then it still works. For the most part, right now, multiple exits is pretty easy. And what I mean by that is the DSCR loans, which don't need to get too much into right now, but basically they're rental loans. They're loans that are based on a rental property, has opened up the real estate world a lot in terms of exits. Before it was, hey, if you don't sell this property, you're in trouble here. But now DSCR allows people to get out of a property they can't sell, and maybe they can hold it for a little longer, build some equity, then maybe sell it or keep it, whatever they want. But that's part of knowing the exit. So what happens if the rehab takes longer? For example, when you're in a loan with the lender, you generally have up to a year to do the project. And what happens if it takes longer than a year? You better ask your lender, hey, what happens at the end of 1 year? Right? For us, my answer is it depends. Have you been working on the project? Have you been communicating with me? Then yeah, we'll make an extension. But if not, then you better know your exit. Some lenders say, nope, we don't do extensions. You better know your exit. So an exit there would be, I have to sell the property, whether I'm done with the renovations or not. An exit there would be, I have to rehab the property, whether I'm done or not, pay it back in cash. Right? These are all exits that you want to have. Or when you get to a certain point, you have multiple properties. Maybe you could cross collateralize. So there's different things you could do there. But that goes into if the market's slow, can I rent instead of sell? And that's DSCR. Generally speaking, right now, this is July 15th, 2026. And I say that because you could be listening to this a month from now and rules will have changed. Generally speaking, you need a 650 plus credit score in order to get a DSCR loan. So that's a pretty important threshold that people look for in order to have DSCR as a backup exit plan is that credit score. If you don't have it, then I highly suggest getting a cosigner that has it because that opens up that as an exit because sometimes they will take the higher credit score of the partners in order to do that. So just again, thinking of multiple exits because we have people that do many projects and their credit sucks. And if they say, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get out at these numbers, they will pull in a cosigner. Uh, and that works for us as a lender.
Do you
Yeah.
have to have a 20% at least down payment for that, or can you do something less with a DSCR loan?
Really depends on the lender. So I don't do DSCR, Kayla, so I don't want to speak too much to that. I can only say the industry. Generally 20% is the number. I have seen people marketing up to 90% for DSCR as of late. Could be true. I don't know though. But I'd say at best case, 10%. Typically what I see is 20%.
Okay. Because this is probably a little off topic, but I am trying to, so I don't have 20% down. I could probably do like the FHA, but it has to be a primary residence. So I was thinking I could maybe do a duplex because I could qualify, for a decent amount by myself. But if I had the income of a duplex to kind of help pay to get a little bit like qualify for more, I'm just trying to like creatively think how I can make this work with what I have available that's not just a conventional loan, but not having 20%. So I'm kind of trying to figure out some things.
Yeah, sure. And I want to caveat saying that is outside my realm because I don't touch primary residence. This is kind of secondary knowledge. I just want to say that so you know the
Gotcha. Okay.
information source. It's called house hacking. What you're talking about is people do that all the time where they will buy a property, live in it for a year, or even say you intend to live in it for a year, and then you can go move, do whatever you want, and now it's a rental. The caveat is that mortgage was taken out as a primary residence. So if you want to refi this 20 years or not even 5 years later, it can be challenging even if you live in another property because I cannot pay off a primary residence mortgage. So it's just something to keep in mind that you have to be certain that they're like, yeah, I'm sticking with this property for 20, 30 years because you may not be able to do much more with it in terms of refinancing. But hey, great way to build equity while renters pay for it. And that's usually what it is. You just in 1 year, out another year, in 1 year, it just people do that all the time. Outside what I do because I can't lend on primaries. I shouldn't say I can't. I'm not set up to lend on primary.
Gotcha.
So you get to get your license, it's all government regulated. But yeah, definitely a really neat strategy. I think people do it all the time. But that's how you can do it. You just go get a primary essentially, live in it for a year, go get another primary, and you just keep building it that way.
So in
But
your experience, like just hearing through kind of your space, do people say they're going to use it as a primary, rent it out, and like get caught? Do they like they call the loan due? Like, is that
it
something like people do and get away with, or it's more like you really shouldn't do that?
it's well, okay. I guess I want to be careful here. It's not illegal to do the house hack thing. That's totally okay. Um, but if you're asking if I could do it, now we're in the gray area. So to clarify what you're trying, if you intend to live in that property for a year, the that is, as far as I know, perfectly legal. And you're not doing anything that's like shoo or anything like that.
Gotcha. I know
Yeah.
we're talking about gray areas and we're a little off topic, but I just it just started to make me think.
No, 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 no. I mean, it's, it would be great if I did that loan for you because I'm an investment property lender. So there's two, if
Gotcha.
yeah, because I don't have my NMLS license because it's all government regulated since the 2008 crash, right? They're like, hey, if people are going to buy primaries, it's all regulated now,
Okay.
which is fine, but that's why we don't do those.
Gotcha.
Um, but that's why I said this is secondary information, just from what I know of the industry or what I see people do. So if you were to come to me and say, hey, I'm looking to live in it for a year, I would just tell you, hey, I can't do it, but I can put you in touch with somebody who can do an FHA loan.
Gotcha.
And typically that's anywhere from 3 to 5% down
Okay.
for those. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. 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 Oh, good. It's good thing for anyone to note if anybody wants to try that. Um, okay. Okay. Any questions on any of this so far? All right. All right. So that's the four main habits that I've found just really stand out to me in the successful investors here. Final thoughts, they're not the smartest, they're not the richest, and they definitely don't have the best credit. Sometimes they do, but I'm just saying you don't need those three things to be able to be a successful investor, right? I mean, it's just like anything in life, in my opinion. You don't have to be the best. You kind of just have to get out there and just do it, right? That's really what it is. And you will become one of those successful people over time. I hope this kind of gave you a shortcut in terms of some of the things they either get there through the hard way, meaning they had to learn that habit, or they were able to take that habit on early and just apply it to their business. So hopefully you go that route so you don't have to get any hard lessons in there. They take action, they prepare, they build relationships, they learn from mistakes, they rinse and repeat that, and that's how they do it. That's to boil it all down into a couple lines for you. And that's I added this in just in case I needed to fill some time, but I think we're good there. Any questions? Anything that anybody wants to talk about? I see Carolyn.
Yes, it sounds like you talk about buying and selling. Do not a lot of people buy and hold? Because what I would like to do is buy and hold for 10 years. Yes, I have an exit strategy, but I want to be able to generate rental income to supplement my retirement. I'm looking at it as my fifth career.
In terms of the habits that I've just talked about, this applies to buy and hold, fix and flip, commercial investment properties. The people are all the same. They really are. The habits are all the same. So if your strategy is to buy and hold, you may not have multiple exits in that case because you're just saying this is my plan. That's a little different, but that still works as a lender. That I know this is your plan. Your plan is I want to build a portfolio that in 10 years, maybe I'll look at refinancing. But for the most part, I'm just looking to hold this, be a landlord, have a property management company. But I would still actually, even in that case, even in those cases, I would still say so it's almost reversed. Your backup plan is to sell. So you don't want to have a property that you buy at 200,000, but it'll only resell at 200,000 because you're going to lose money on closing costs.
Most definitely.
Right. So it's still the same concepts where flippers, their backup plan is going to be DSCR. But if you are going in to build a portfolio, which is totally fine, it's great. That's the two worlds that exist in real estate investment. You either fix and flip, it's money now, or you buy and hold and it's money later, right? So for the most part, a lot of the successful people in this or who do it full time, because I think you said you're kind of like it's your secondary job. But if you do it full time, you just decide saying, yeah, I'm going to hold this one, or yeah, I'm going to sell this one. It kind of depends on your budget that month, right? Those are the people that are just they can do it either way. So if your main strategy is to buy and hold, that is totally fine. But make sure your backup plan is, yeah, I could sell this property. I could get out and not lose money, right? I could still preferably make money, right? Like your number crunching is relatively close. It is relatively the same to a fix and flip. The only difference is you may not be trying to think of how much money. So a flipper is going to say, hey, I want to make $50,000 on this as soon as I'm done. You might not have that large of a gap, and that's okay, just because buy and hold strategy is a little different. But the habits are all the same. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I'm just going to go in order. I see these here. I see Chelsea. Oh, lost Chelsea.
I'm here. I'm
okay.
here.
Hey, Chelsea.
First of all, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I want to verify. I do not know you. I have never met you before. I appreciate your plug. And yes, I am a transaction coordinator specializing in residential real estate. And I am also starting to work with investors. So, so excited. Here is my question. I think that there is a misconception about how quickly a hard money lender can lend.
Let's hear
So,
it.
so it has been my experience. I think people have the idea that hard money is the same as cash and that within 24 to 48 hours, a deal can get funded. My experience is that it really is almost the same as any other type of lender. There's a process that has to be done. Now, you might not have the lengthy appraisal process, and you may not have, you might not have to stick to the 3-day rule, but there still is a process. So, since you were I'm so excited I get to talk to you today because I have an investor who decided to change his hard money lender 2 days before the closing. We've now pushed 5 days and we might lose the deal because the hard money lender promised we
Yep.
could fund you in 2 days. So, can you tell me about how long a hard money lender process can take from the time that they say they're going to work with a investor to actually having funded?
I get this call at least once a week of, no, you can't. Shut up. This is BS. Because especially a real estate transaction coordinator who has seen all the transactions out there. And most of the time, the lender is just saying that to get you in. If title work is ready, is title work ready on this?
Yes, it's been ready.
I could close tomorrow. If you want me to prove it to you, I'm happy to, but then you have to write a review and tell everyone about this. So because it's our own money, we're not an institution. It's literally my money, my partner's money. It's all of our money pulled together. So as I had in the first slide, like what I do it all, right? Where is this property located? Because it might not be an area I can do.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
I can do Charlotte. So I might even be able to drive out there tomorrow and go to the property. I'll probably have, I have somebody that does travel for me, but if they can't make it, I'm going to go out there tomorrow. If you're telling me this is a closing, it's going to happen tomorrow, I will physically drive and go out there and I will wire the money because our attorneys know that we don't do it often in terms of the 24-hour closings. Most of the time people are good with like a day or two. But if they need to rush this, my attorneys know because they get paid a little bit more to do it. It gets priority. They're going to send you over to the loan docs and we're going to wire our funds. It doesn't have to go through a board, doesn't have to go through, I got to wait for this underwriter. I got to wait for this to go out there. So that's why we are able to do it. And the only thing I can say is check out our Google reviews. Believe me, it's stories of this, like saying I was in a pinch, couldn't do it. Can't believe this lender actually did it. Now, if you're not hard money bankers, I 100% agree with you. And I know that because since I'm a local lender, I don't touch deals outside of our area. I have been pretty much since I've started this trying to find lenders that can do what we do in other states. And we haven't found it, right? Because I send deals right? Deals and it's crazy. The promises you get from lenders and they just don't perform. So challenge me. I'd love to do it. My record's 17 hours. If you want to see if I can do it faster, I'm in. But yeah, I'd be happy to work with you, Chelsea. And like I said, the only thing is you have to write a review when it goes through.
Well, they say they're going to be able to do it tomorrow, and so we're going to have to see.
Happy to be a backup if you want to send it to me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Next I see although David, I think you cut the line. I'm gonna have to not that you did, it's just the way it's showing up on my screen. HOOI.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Hui.
Hui, okay.
Yes, yeah. Well, thank you for sharing, your insight on this topic. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And my question is, for hard money lender, what would be the typical closing costs?
That's going to really depend on the deal. There's a lot of variation in there. So your range for a fix and flip is probably anywhere from 9% to 16%. That's really the range. And what the factors are going to be.
I just in the bedroom.
I'm sorry. Okay. Was that you, Hui? Did you say something? Or?
No, I
Oh,
think
okay.
someone, yeah, maybe
Oh,
some
okay.
have background noise. Yeah.
Okay. So it really depends on your experience. So if you are very experienced, meaning you have 10 plus flips in the last 3 years, uh, you have 800 credit, and you have a lot of liquidity in the bank, you might be able to qualify for that 9% rate. With Kiabi is the lender that type of person wants to be talking to. Kiabi is the lender that is just changing the game in terms of that stuff. I don't think their capital is going to be around forever. They're actually trying to sell right now. They might actually be selling. So take advantage of that money while you can. 9% there. For the most part, if you maybe have a couple flips under your belt or it's your first belt, you're probably going to fall closer to the range of 11 to 14%, right? So it really just depends on your credit. And then if you have under 650 credit, that's a big threshold because of the DSCR requirement. A lot of lenders say, hey, I'm only going to do this if you have 650 credit. I don't look at credit in that regard. I do look at credit because it's like, hey, if you have under 650 credit, that's okay. I'll do a deal with you, but I'm going to lower my loan size for you. So it really depends on how quickly you need to close, what your experience is, and what your credit score is. I'd probably say those are the biggest factors. I mean, I could ballpark you for where you are. Is this your first flip?
Oh, well, actually, I'm not doing the flip. Yeah. So, but
Okay.
I'm just, asking
Got,
for information in case, I ever need something really quick. Yeah. So, but
understood.
just how what you're talking about is the interest rate.
That's just the interest rate. So when you do short term,
Okay.
and that's short term loan. Let me clarify that. That's short term. So that's
Correct.
going to be your 1 year notes, typically for
Right.
fix and flips.
Right.
So it's much higher than conventional. It's higher than DSCR.
Mhm.
DSCR is going to be your long-term loans. This is going to be your 15 to 30-year loans, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Those are going to be a little bit higher than your FHA loan, but they're going to be lower than your 1 year fix and flip. So typically DSCR, depending on where you are, because Ohio is different than Pennsylvania, different than North Carolina. Generally, you see best case scenario 7% right now, and then probably average 8% and then 9% roughly is probably your
Right.
range for DSCR. So that's your range,
Okay.
basically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have once going to close this Friday with the DSCR. But I was wondering, like, what would be the closing cost? When I say
Closing
closing,
costs. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
hard money
Yep. So this is
lender.
going to be typically you're going to be charged points, which is just percent.
Point.
Points is another way of saying percent at closing. So if it's $100,000 loan, typically you'll see anywhere from 1 point, again, for the experienced investors, all the way up to 5 points. 5 points is usually lower credit, no experience, that kind of thing. So average probably 1 to 2 points. I'm always 3 points for my loans, so I'm a little bit higher than average, but you're coming to me if you need speed, right? So I'm higher cost, but I'm very fast, right? But if you don't need that speed, which most people don't, like it's okay. I'm good being the backup lender for most people. But for the most part, anywhere from 1 to 3 points is probably pretty standard.
I see. Okay.
And then your
Thank
closing
you.
cost, yeah. And to give you a little bit more detail on the closing cost, then you're going to see typically things like an attorney fee. And that could be anywhere from 500 to 1,000.
Right.
Appraisal. I don't use appraisals, but I know most lenders do. That's gone up. That's closer to 1,000 now, maybe 800 to 1,000. All these prices have gone up,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
everything else in
Okay.
the country, right? So that's anywhere from 800 to 1,000. Processing fee, usually somewhere around $1,000. Again, 500 to 1,000. And sometimes even a bank fee. So It really depends on the lender. Some lenders wrap all that into their points. Some lenders cover it because they own the title company or they work with the attorney. It really depends, but I'd probably say what I share with you now is a good average, can be higher or lower.
So it will still be similar to DSCR loan or the conventional loan closing costs. Just the
Yep.
point might be different. I see. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much
I,
all the same. Whichever one you go to, just the
I see.
maybe on a fix and flip because we actually collect renovation draws. We build in 5 draws, so you might see that, but that would be it. Otherwise, it's all the same.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. I see Francetti.
Yes, thank you for your information and everything tonight. I
Yep.
just you actually answered a lot of the questions just now, but what I want to say is, so if you get a hard money and for a property, and it's a property that you're gonna want to, I'll say, keep and rent out after the renovation, you can do you don't do the DSCR, right? I can just have someone else do a DSCR, refinance it like that, then pay you guys off? And how does that go?
Exactly right. Yep. So let's just say easy numbers. Say you took out $100,000 loan with me. That's my principal. While you're in my loan, you've been paying me $1,000 every month interest, right? So let's say by month 4, done with renovations, ready to get a tenant in there. You should have started that conversation with the DSCR lender 2 months ago, but basically as soon as you get into my loan, you want to queue up a conversation with the DSCR lender, and then get all that paperwork going, because as soon as that tenant gets in there, you want to be able to close to get out of my higher interest rate loan, right? And then basically you go through another closing. You'll work with the title company. They will basically it's called a refinance, where they get my payoff. So I say, hey, $100,000. And I'm going to say, okay. And then lender B, the next lender, the DSCR lender, is going to wire over, let's say 120,000, because maybe you're getting some cash out. The title company then wires me back my $100,000. You're out of the loan. You're good to go. And then now you're in this new loan with them. And then my lien on the property is taken off, and you have a new lien with the DSCR lender.
Okay,
Does
great.
that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Yep. All right. And David.
Yeah, thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, gotcha.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks so much for this information. I'm an experienced investor, and I'm looking at distressed properties. So properties that are, in a situation where, maybe some investors need to walk away. There's some situations of it. They maybe started with the property and now it's halfway finished, or even a project to add value, also add in additional units if there's any projects that are in that situation. So some sort of distress, and maybe they need to get out of it, and things like that. So do you offer any funding for that? What kind of rates would it be, and things like that?
Yep. No, we can certainly take a look at those. Just full transparency, anybody who else is thinking about projects like that, we can do those, but generally I don't want to be higher than the current lender. So if there's already $100,000 loan on it, I'm going to say, hey, I'll come in at 80,000. So even though it's already halfway started, for me, I look at those and I'm like, we don't know what kind of job the person who failed did, right? So you don't know if the plumbing has to get completely redone. So I come in a little bit lower than expected on midway construction projects. So I could certainly do those, but not at 100% financing for the most part. I mean, I have done it, so I don't want to say hard no, but like it's very rare. So I will say that, where we cover 100% of the financing. So yes, I'm happy to take a look at that for you. For all my loans, I'm going to be somewhere between 12 to 14% and 2 to 4 points. Generally, when it's a mid-construction project, you're probably going to be at least at the 13-3, just to give you that heads up. They're just higher risk, at least from our perspective. But yeah, no, we definitely do those, and happy to talk with you about any projects you might have.
So what is your process in that situation? You do like draws. I mean, I've experienced and I'm familiar with this process, so I'm just kind of curious, how you guys utilize and work that out.
Yep. That's exactly what we do. We do draws. I mean, we're very hands off with our renovation projects, right? If since you're experienced, you probably work with lenders and they want, what's the brand of the appliance? What's the brand of they want to know all that. I don't really care about that stuff. I'm more just how much is it going to cost you to do the kitchen? How much is it going to cost you to do the floors? Great. We'll wire you over once that's done. Just let me know. I'll send out my inspector. If it's local to me, I'll go check it out myself. And that's it. We're very hands off. We try to keep it as easy as possible for you. We kind of want you to do the work up front in terms of what needs to be done to the project. So generally on a mid-construction project, I want to see you have some liquidity in case something unexpected comes up, such as that plumbing needs to be redone or something. I don't want to have to worry about that because I'm hands off. I don't want to have to get involved. So if that's the type of investor you are, the type of lender that you're looking for, you just want a lender who basically just gives you the money and says, swing your hammer. That's what we're a good fit for.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And another part of it is if there's a situation or a problem to solve, and let's say it's solvable after we close escrow, maybe a code violation or something needs to be taken care of after the fact. You guys lend on situations like that?
Did we already close?
No, we didn't close yet. We need the funding to close, but the situation is it can be handled right after the closing. So I'm just kind of curious, kind of how you guys look at that.
Yeah, it depends what it is. If we think it's fixable, I'd probably ask you if you've ever fixed something like that before. It's like, especially in the city that it's in, that kind of thing. I want to make sure it's something that's not going to turn into, we got to take down all the stud or take it down to the studs again. Right. So it kind of depends what it is. But certainly possible. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. We'll definitely chat. I'll reach out to you. Did you put your information in the chat? Not yet. It's okay. I'll get your info, but we'll chat. All right. Allie?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. So I had a couple questions for you. I have my husband, he's a general contractor. Is that an issue or is that kind of more of a perk for hard money loans?
Depends. So many lenders do require a GC. We don't really care. You can do the work yourself, pay yourself, totally fine. Definitely doesn't hurt. If anything, so yeah, I would put it on the perk side of things. But yeah, it just depends on the lender, really. In terms of confidence of the project getting done, yeah, I'd say that's good. Even if have you done a project before or just your first one?
This is going to be our first one, but he's been in construction and has done a lot of rehabs for 15 years for all other people, just never for himself. So we're hoping to jump into it ourselves.
Yeah, pretty common scenario, to be honest. And it really just depends on your lender. Again, with me, happy to take a look and chat with you. Some lenders will say doesn't count. Some lenders will say it counts. It really just depends on the lender.
Okay. And then you mentioned for draws, that it seems pretty easy. Is there like a limit of a number, like how many draws can you do in the 12-month period, or is there like a fee per draw?
It's a fee per draw. And again, depends on your lender. So I can only speak to what we do. It's typically going to be $195 per draw, which is pretty low in the industry. Usually it's more expensive than that. But basically every time I got to send somebody out there, I got to pay them. Right. So that's what it is. So you can do it as little or as many draws as you want, right? Just costs $195 every time you do. So.
Okay. I know when we were looking around for other hard money lenders, a lot of them had a minimum loan amount of 100,000. Do you have a minimum for the amount that you would loan?
We don't have a minimum loan amount, but we do want the property to be worth at least 100,000. So if you're buying it for 20,000 and it's only worth 20,000, I'm probably going to pass. But if you're buying it for 75,000 and it's worth 100,000, now I can take a look.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Of course. Yep. All right. Katia, did I say it right this time? Did I get it right?
Yes, yeah. Yes, thank you. Actually, just picking up on the previous question about distressed properties or
Sure.
situations. I imagine that you encounter those and you have people who need to back out, et cetera, or maybe there are loans that are in trouble. How do we best, connect and network with, lenders like you to take, to maybe take advantage of those opportunities and be, already source, to take on those distress situations that you have on your desk?
So you're the third person today to ask me that. And I will tell you, keep asking. It's a timing thing. It's just like anything with marketing. Somebody's going to win it from me from time to time. It's not, I do not get this question as often. It's just funny. I'm smiling because I'm like, today was one of those days. Everybody was just calling for that. But you just keep following up. Okay. Right now, I don't have it, which is, lucky for me. I don't have any, but they do come up. And highly recommend you do that with every lender, add them into your database and follow up with them every month, even though they're most likely going to say don't have any for a long time. It's just like any other marketing piece. Eventually, it's going to reveal a deal. So that does work, and just be in touch with me. And when it comes up and you timed it right, you'll get the contact. Now, I mean, other things I do, this is just for investors of ours, but I will send them wholesale leads. Now, I'm not saying any wholesale lead. It's got to be like I will review it and say, yeah, this is one I would, if it's one I would lend on, I send it out to my list, right? So definitely be in touch with lenders. Like there's such a good lead source for deals. So excellent question, great lead source, and just be in touch.
May I just ask, what are examples of some of those situations, and what should we ask, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, you just truly never know why somebody can't complete a project. Sometimes it's had one person go to jail once, right? You do 1,000 deals, you're gonna see the gambit. So they went to jail, right? Like they can't do the project anymore. That's a good example of that's going to hit the market. It's going to hit open market, or an investor could come in and say, "Hey, I'll give you $70,000 or $100,000 right now to take it off your hands." And if me as the lender says that sounds good, done. So really, the reason almost isn't as important. But basically, you just ask, "Hey," so if you want to like talk to the lender, just say, "Do you have any non-performing notes or projects that look like they may be stalling?" And just ask, can I talk to if I can talk to the investors?
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right, Paris.
My question is more like an overall perspective, you as a lender and what other lenders could be thinking. I got a property under contract for like, let's say half. It was worth 100,000, but the loan amount that I wanted was 50,000, and the lender wouldn't lend because they said that's too low. So it seemed like I was penalized for getting a low offer from the seller, and I couldn't understand why a lender would not want to do that.
Yeah, good question. Common
I mean, a
question.
lender.
Yeah, because you're like the what's the math on that? The truth is, a loan that goes sideways, a defaulted loan, can cost $50,000 overnight, right? So the investor does not have to account for that. The lender does. If I feel like I'm not sure I'm going to be able to recoup my funds, because even though it's a $50,000 loan, if this goes sideways, and I kind of have to prepare for that, I'm at $100,000 just like that. So that's typically why you want to see properties that have a certain value. Now, generally, if you're buying a property for 50,000 and saying it's worth 100,000, that's a tough one to sell. I mean, I could take a look. and let you know. But generally speaking, somebody's not going to be selling a property $50,000. They would have maybe 5 to 10 years ago. But people are, it's much harder right now for people to be able to get a 50% equity resale. So it's kind of probably the lender just doesn't believe that number. It's probably what it is. It could be a situation as well where, because I see that from time to time too. I'm like, I just don't know this area well enough to be able to confidently say, yeah, I think you're right. That's worth 100, even though you're getting it for 50. So it's usually just a higher risk tolerance at what lenders are willing to do, but also just keep that in mind that defaults, unfortunately, can cost money, and that's where it puts lenders at risk to lose. That's why we don't really do, like, if it's somebody was asking earlier, can you do a $20,000 loan? I said if the property is worth 100,000, because otherwise I'm in the hole 70,000 if things happen day one, right? So just something that's the lender's perspective, is we have to account for default costs, and then also it's a trust of, is that property really worth 50,000, and this person's willing to take I mean, there's other red flags in there too. Like, is there fraud going on here? Why is this person doing it? How did you get it like that? So there's just concerns that come up. And I'm not saying you can't. Like, I've done those loans, so they exist. But I would say more often than not, it falls on this side of either I don't know this area, or I just have to be cautious of the default numbers here.
Okay, I think my situation was a couple was getting divorced and one was being a hard nose with the other. So they say, if you want out, this is what it'll be, for that particular property, which they know could have gotten more, but they were just, internally having a conflict, which was a gain for me,
Yep.
but the
That's a
lender said
good,
the loan was too low.
it's a good one for private lenders for sure. Institutional lenders likely have hard rules against that, saying if the purchase price is more than 10% lower than the as is value, they're not going to do it. It's just institutional lending. It's just underwriting. Those rules change all the time. Typically, a private lender is going to be able to see through that, if you will. It's not going to be based on the appraisal kind of thing. So that's where you want to add a private lender to your arsenal. Because divorce is actually a money maker for everybody in this industry, to be honest. So I understand the situation there. Is it? Do you want me to take a look at it, or?
Oh no, it was a while ago and I just never could understand it, but I have more that you can take a look at. But
Gotcha.
I was just
Yeah.
trying to get a perspective, like why would a lender not want to do that?
Yeah. I'm every lender's different, so I would not stop at one lender with something like that, but I probably would take, if something's outside, generally speaking, the institutional boundaries are kind of all the same to some extent. So like, you talk to one lender and you're like, yeah, all three said the same. If that's the case, go talk to a private lender from there, right? Private lender meaning that it's their own money, that kind of thing. That's what I would recommend in that situation.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Okay. Kayla, Gabby, I don't see any more. Do you guys see any more?
No, I don't see any more questions. You did a fantastic job answering, though. I think this is out of the last couple months that we've been doing this, this has been our biggest group and the most questions. So thank you very much for that.
It's my pleasure. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me, feel free. It's on the screen right now, but I'll just verbally say it. Give me a call anytime, 201-389-9269. And my email is ryan@hardmoneybankers.com. So any questions that you come up with afterwards, I will also send this presentation over to Sandra, I believe. And I am here anytime to help anyone. I do truly enjoy sharing information. Just, it's part of me giving back to the community is how I look at it. So thank you all for this opportunity.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. And we will see you guys all next month.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.